Okay, I'm live on episode 9. This is where I get really silly. Oh my god, I don't even care how silly I look or just how ridiculous, but I'm going to call Georgia Davenport in just a second. Does everybody know what this song is? Has to do with the beret. Oh my god, I'm silly. That's okay. Super excited. Oh, she says, oh. Hang on. I'm live now. I know. And the reason I'm typing instead of continuing to play my ridiculous Raspberry Beret song is because I'm trying to establish if... Oh, she's in the middle of Scrabble, so maybe not. Maybe she's not going to come on at the moment. Oh my gosh. All right, Georgia. Well, she is in the middle of Scrabble, and this was like a really harebrained idea. No. So that's okay. Pause this for a second. It's okay. I'll just be silly on my own. So the exciting news is that was a little bit of a hilarious, silly thing, and I could always delete the video, but I'm not really like that. I don't care who sees my silliness or my excitement, because it just feels like the culmination of a whole bunch of really, really, really enormously hard work that whole Washington has done, and in collaboration that Red Berets Medicare for All on Twitter and on social media have done, to basically try to bring whole Washington into the national Medicare for All conversation, because we are a very serious grassroots campaign. Organization, not just a campaign, organization. We have legislation, and I'm saying we, like, I'm the founder of Red Berets and executive director of Red Berets, and this is that's a separate endeavor from Whole Washington, but you'll see us linked together in so many photos because I have been volunteering for Whole Washington since I was introduced in the fall of 2017 and helped gather signatures and plan events and went to a ton of like festivals and just brought petitions everywhere. So it was a new organizer at the time, so I would say I wasn't very organized. I'm still not incredibly organized, but definitely between like knitting Red Berets for people and posting Red Berets for people and doing the organizing for Initiative 1600. That was a really, really exciting time and a lot of work, and pretty much there's been a lot of subsequent efforts since then, including, of course, Senator Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign that we were all of the whole Washington Red Berets grassroots were very, very, very actively involved in, as were everybody, lots of people across the United States trying to help in every way that we could. So we were organizing events for that. Although Whole Washington doesn't endorse candidates. Red Berets, it's a different deal because I'm just a grassroots creative knitter, and there are some other people that have been helping and crafting these in solidarity. But, as the executive director and just, somebody who thought of a creative idea, I can endorse whoever I want. And mainly I've tried to endorse endorse or support, whatever word you want to use, all Medicare for all candidates, regardless of what party that they're running in. That's kind of been my philosophy all along, has been to craft these Red Berets in solidarity for both the national movement, people that I saw that were good on the ground organizers, people that are real leaders on social media, leaders out in their community, movement leaders, nurses. I've tried to kind of like, we sent some berets to Ron Placone and oh my gosh, hang on, give me a second. Graham Elwood. And, I think, we gave Red Beret to Miserable Liberal and Jimmy Dore. And I've also crafted for the former president of PNHP and Nina Turner, Senator Nina Turner, Dr. Dooley. But lots and lots and lots of regular 99 percenters who, like John JGB, who is always like wearing his Bernie Blue Beret, and Savage Joy, and Chris, eclectic radical, who is who does like a podcast on there. And so there's tons of people that I've just tried to kind of put together, this creative coalition. We've done a lot of local organizing, like going to town halls and organizing like rallies or protests in Olympia. Like, so there is local organizing, but I've done, as far as trying to spread the message that people can be crafting Red Berets for Medicare for All, for both for candidates, for state level efforts, for the national movement, for people that are out canvassing in various different organizations. It could be DSA, it could be Socialist Alternative, it could be Revolution, it could be whatever your efforts are. Maybe you're not affiliated with any of those things, but you believe in Medicare for all and you just want a Red Beret. So I have tried to make the message as, as clear and inclusive and, just kind of all encompassing as possible. So I am just really, really thankful to see on Twitter today, like, we were all involved in this, or I kind of jumped in with this conversation with Brianna Joy Gray, where Ryan Grimm has been tweeting out information that is just not accurate and not correct. And all along with the Force the Vote campaign, and as you all who are following me know, I was very vocal about my support for Force the Vote, because it has been my strategy, or my philosophy, that we can't afford to continue to have gatekeepers or people saying, like, we can't do this idea, because this is what the national plan is. So typically in the past, it's been, and there is still a very strong narrative that state level efforts are, going to be dismissed, or they leave people out of. Nobody understands, like, more than people that have put in thousands and thousands of hours to this, that we need it at the national level. That's why I supported and still support Force the Vote. I don't dismiss anything that is a strong effort or push towards achieving national improved Medicare for all. I just don't think that we can afford to wait on a corrupt administration, where our sitting president said that he would veto a bill of Medicare for all should it land on his desk, and a almost completely corrupted Congress on both sides of the political aisle, who take corporate cash, and who, the ones who are not taking corporate cash, we need them to be standing up and being extremely vocal about this. It doesn't matter what Biden says the agenda is. Our agenda, the people that elected them and gave up our working class dollars to get progressives elected to these seats, our agenda is not changing. It didn't change when it was Trump. It didn't change before it was Trump. It has always been Medicare for all. So we're still fighting for it. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden says. It doesn't matter. We're not going to just give up on that agenda just because it doesn't look like we have because we don't have a president who supports it, and we don't have a Congress that supports it. And, this argument about we don't have enough votes in the thing, everybody always knew that. That wasn't the point. If you watch the last or the most recent episode that Brianna Joy Gray had Ralph Nader on her podcast, um, he was talking about how important it is to get these politicians on the record over and over. You keep asking them, and you keep asking them in such a way that they have to say no. And you get them on the record saying no, and you get them on the record saying no, and no, and no. So the whole point was, yes, getting them on the record saying, no, I don't support Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic when 68,000 or more are dying every single year under our for-profit system. Naturally, they're not going to say that, but they still have to say no. And it really is important, now that that opportunity has gone. I just got really fired up about it, because it's like we just had this healthcare for all strategy conference where a bunch of us came in, and I don't mean to say we came together, but there were actually quite a few people present. I know because I organized personally with some of them, who were strong supporters of Force the Vote. But obviously they had been planning on going to that Medicare for All conference, and they were there to learn and to build more community, both amongst the national movement and the strategy of one-payer states, because that's what I'm going to get onto, the exciting news about Brianna Joy Gray responding directly to Georgia Davenport, who is the field director of Whole Washington. Because it's not that I'm saying, or anyone that's for a one-payer state strategy is saying, that we don't need national improved Medicare for all. What it actually means is that when we're doing the organizing and fighting like Fight for 15 did, then we actually have much more of a chance of eventually passing it. And I say eventually because there just isn't. I'm never the type of person who is going to be like, it's impossible right now. Look at the president, look at the Congress, I'm going to continue to fight every single day as though we do have a chance, as though we do have an opportunity. That's why I supported Force the Vote, because if you use the leverage and the power that you have, which is really all that progressives have right now, then we can move mountains. They might not have passed it, but how are we going to push it into the national conversation? I want to submit to all of you that by leaving this, by just assuming, okay, well, so we have this administration, they're not going to be able to pass it right now, but we still don't want to do one payer state strategy because blah, 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 maybe it'll fail. Then that wouldn't actually cover everybody. So let's wait around for another 4 years or 8, right? We have to organize our butts off right now to even make 2024 a hope or a possibility of getting an actual candidate in there, or getting a debate to where we have some leverage and some power. We just have a lot of work to do organizing for it. So we cannot afford to undermine willfully or unwittingly. We cannot afford to undermine any good, solid efforts at organizing, especially strategies or organizations like the Whole Washington Health Trust that literally are exhibiting through their actions nothing but a ton of solidarity for our legislative efforts. We have a bill in the Washington state. Of course, they're going to have solidarity for their own efforts, but I'm saying, so they organize through connecting other one-payer states and building that community, because the hope is obviously that in case there are states that are not working on this yet, Whole Washington and other one-payer states can help provide the template for other states. And the hope would then be the more states that start doing this, the more the insurance lobby has to worry about. So obviously we don't think it's a good idea that, only just one state works on this. What's really important are those one-on-one, which admittedly has been very difficult during COVID, but the one-on-one conversations where we actually get out and talk to people and have these conversations and ask them how they're doing under our for-profit system and talk to them about Medicare for all. And that is what a ballot initiative does. So this leads me, and I will tell you now, so this was the tweet that led to the interview the upcoming interview that is probably not scheduled yet, but that is very exciting because it will now happen. But I have to find it. Okay, here it is. Oops. So under kind of the whole chain, if you're following at Bree, what is her at Bree Joy, and you're following the whole conversation on Twitter today, there's been a whole string of tweets with her engaging with Ryan Grimm, which is what I made sort of an angry, yelly video about earlier today, because the false information is just unacceptable. But there was a tweet that I picked up on that led to further conversation with all of us, where Brianna Gray says, because she had Michael Lighty on from the National Nurses back in December. So she says in this tweet, I expressed skepticism for what is apparently the new plan for Medicare for All, a state-by-state approach starting in California and brought nationwide by, among other things, a Gavin Newsom presidency. All this content is free. So that was, I think I perhaps even missed that in my listening to the portions that I did listen to of the Lighty interview, because there were a lot of good things that he did say. And so again, if you missed that interview, you can go and listen to that as kind of some backdrop of what will probably be discussed. Let's see the tweet right before that, and this was 6 hours ago. She says, I did, however, interview Michael Lighty, former director of public policy for NNU, healthcare constituency director for Bernie 220, and former national director of DSA on Bad Faith on 12/28. His interview was clarifying and informative. So again, nothing there. And then here's also Sarah Hansen has tweeted below that, time to have whole Washington at Geo Davenport on Bad Faith Pod to discuss their efforts to get universal health care for Washingtonians. Let's have the debate, state by state, Medicare for all, force the vote. And then she's also tagged Virgil, Texas in there. Yeah. And here's Pat the Burner. I didn't see this comment. Yeah, Pat the Burner said, he said, imagine a Medicare for All master plan based on Gavin Newsom becoming president. What WTF is happening? Gavin fucking Newsom? Never gonna happen. I really love Pat the Burner. Okay. And then she responds with, in fairness to Lighty, he was more nuanced than that. Here's a piece he recently wrote about the plan. I'm happy to learn more about it, but my first impression is that I'm skeptical. Okay. So anyway, to get back to the retweet with Georgia, she retweeted I expressed skepticism for what is apparently the new plan. And Georgia retweeted, that's at Geo Davenport, she retweeted, state-based efforts aren't a monolith. There are groups who work on only state bills, groups who run ballot measures, and groups like At Whole Washington. We do multiple strategies, hashtag Medicare for All, ballot measures, and bills. Please don't let a member of one org speak for all our efforts. And I very much applaud Georgia for that tweet, because it's absolutely the truth. Michael Lighty, I attended one of his presentations over the Healthcare for All strategy conference, as did other organizers. He did the same presentation, I believe, or similar. I think it was the same on Saturday and Sunday. Georgia attended it on Saturday. I attended it on Sunday along with Whole Washington's chair and Whole Washington's communication director. There were a few of us in there on Sunday. And overall, we could see that it was very clear that he was not in favor or looks negatively upon the ballot initiative process. But this is what presumably there will be a lot of good information that will be, fleshed out and made available. But as you can see, there's like some disagreement there. So all I've been asking for, and Sarah Hansen has been asking for, and some of us that have been vocal on Twitter, we have wanted to see whole Washington be at the forefront, at least not in the forefront, but within this national strategy conversation, because we literally have been not only both and, but a sort of as all inclusive as an approach as I think it's really possible to be as healthcare justice organizers. And we're very grassroots, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe once an organization becomes really, really established, or if you're not really careful about who sits on the board, or I don't know if just time ends up sort of dampening down that sort of passionate honesty and clarity that is able to be I don't even know exactly what I'm trying to say, other than right now it feels, as a new member of the board of Whole Washington, it feels like it's an organization that very much cares about staying in touch, very in touch with grassroots organizing. That's everything that we were founded upon. Georgia Davenport will hopefully share all of that in the interview. So Brianna Joy Gray responds back, would love to have someone on to discuss. And Georgia says, yay, so excited. Can you email me, or, should I email you? And then Sema responds with this, and let's see, Blaine, I'll retweet you, Blaine. As one of your many Patreon subscribers to Bad FPod, I wholeheartedly endorse this. Yay. I told you guys the other day, you guys and gals, you people, that Blaine is a really amazing person to follow on Twitter. And so he needs a bigger following. He's at BDOT, I think, at BDOT10, BEEDOT 10. Yes. And then Andre Stackhouse, Captain, I always forget what his Captain something on Twitter. And he's a really good Seattle DSA, I think, that he is with, and a really strong supporter and volunteer of Whole Washington. And he also attended the Healthcare for All conference. So we have a lot of people in Whole Washington that are for this like both and strategy of, we continue to organize with existing organizations and people that have laid a lot of excellent groundwork. We can't do it without orgs and policymakers and union support and all of that. And that's understandable, and that is very much understood. But when the grassroots are crying out that they support something and they want to see something moved and they want direct action and they need direct action, it's just not going to work to have people telling them, that they're just a bunch of rabble rousers and just undermining their voices. Like, that's not going to work. So anyway, I'm really excited that Whole Washington will be interviewed. And thank you, Brianna Joy Gray. Very much appreciative for you reaching out and responding, and look forward to that happening. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to say on here. Oh, I wanted to give another shout out, and this is for the Red Berets. I don't know if I'll remember to tag you though, so I don't know if you'll see it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll put this episode, because Ryan Knight, I'll give him another shout out, because he retweeted not only the amazing new meme of Brianna Joy Gray in the Red Beret, but he also retweeted something that I wrote. But first, if I could keep my train of thought. Oh, Sarah Smith. She also, I don't know if any of you were following Sarah Smith's campaign back when she ran against, I always want to call him, Representative Adam Smith in Washington State. So she was with the whole first wave of Justice Democrats when AOC won that year, 2018. And miraculously, he hadn't been a co-sponsor of HR 676. And her progressive campaign that had picked up a lot of traction, and they ran a really good campaign, basically pushed him to go and magically co-sponsor HR 676. So yeah, these things do have but that's a good example of like, how come we just need to really fight much stronger than how we are, because we have a bunch of people who are gonna, just like with Bernie, putting his bill out there, and then so many of these presidential hopefuls stepping on the platform. Endorsements don't, or co-sponsorship, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, and that's a horrible thing, because it's kind of, on one hand, it can be a really, really weighty thing, but when comes to shove, you also have to really know the person that's co-sponsoring, and like, you have to really know their motives and what drives them, and whether they're going to be trustworthy to deliver. And so Adam Smith clearly is nobody that we could, when it comes down to Medicare for all legislation, he might appear on the list of co-sponsors, but I don't believe for a second that he would actually help pass something. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's really highly cynical, but he did have to have a very strong primary opponent in order to push him to get on to. He was nervous about his seat. So anyway, Sarah says, in response to Georgia, yes, I am so excited about this. Whole Washington has done amazing work as an org in our state, and you, Georgia, are one of the most tenacious, dogged, focused organizers I'm lucky to know. I can't wait to watch you two talk about the work y'all have been doing. I think she made another one too. And then Georgia says, thank you very, very much. I am so excited too. But the first ever podcast I was on was yours. Thank goodness you, Troy, and Corn all trained me on how to speak into a mic back then. And then Sarah responds, you're a natural. This is going to be so exciting to see Whole Washington hit a wider audience. I hope it empowers you folks to help other states with similar model fight. Wild to see your movement be a part of the inevitable history where M4A passed nationally. And it's absolutely, that's an excellent tweet. And I don't know if any of you have seen me tweeting over and over, Canada passed its province by province, hashtag be the Saskatchewan. It's not to leave anybody out. It's to understand that we literally, like, the insurance lobby is going to organize. They are organizing. They have been organizing. The thing that has made Washington State kind of coalesce as a really visible family through all of these photos that you see me sharing of whole Washington, and banners, and the United States flag with all the countries hand painted that have some form of universal health care or single payer, and just all of us in our red berets and supporting our local candidates. Like, if it has looked like a visual cohesive unit, that's because that's what a ballot initiative, that's one of the things that a ballot initiative does. It brings people together. It brings people fighting for a cause together, and it gives people the opportunity to participate in direct democracy. So even somebody who told me I don't support that, and then I would usually push a little bit further to say, well, you may, or it sounds like you would want to look much more closely. It's at wholewashington.org. Do you think that everything deserves to be on the ballot so that we can actually have a vote on it? And granted, there were people that are so inundated with industry propaganda that they said, no, I don't. Hell no, I don't. But there were some who did, who would be like, okay, yeah, I'll sign that. I do think that we should have a vote on it. I think it should be on the ballot, and that's how it's supposed to be, is one person, one vote. So I just say that, ballot, to get back to the thing with Michael Leidy, he, in his, in a seminar that he led, he was, one of the things that he cited was saying that he said that we needed at least $5 million to even begin to mount a successful campaign against a ballot initiative campaign. And I mean, we don't know. The thing is that we don't know what to do at this point because we have legislation. So we're going the route that he apparently approves of. And the thing that he talked about with or sold as this is the approach is through the legislature. We're trying that too. Like we would, I think Georgia Davenport, I don't want to steal all of her. That's not what I'm trying to do is steal all of her thunder. It's like, but she will sort of say, do you think, or these are my words, do any of you think that we want to go out and gather? Now it's going to be 350,000 signatures. It increased from last time what we're actually going to need if we run it this time around, or just whenever we run it. The signatures have increased what we actually need. Oh my God, that is an enormous amount of work. Like it's so much work. If we thought, I mean, oh my God, if we thought that it was possible that we can just continue to call and email and pressure our legislators, we have put a pretty sustained, pretty heavy pressure campaign. Ron Placone even wrote a song for us calling out the chair of the Ways and Means or Healthcare Committee, who is blocking us from receiving a hearing, from letting the bill out of committee so that we can just get a public hearing. That's so, in other words, like people have, if Michael Lighty has cynicisms about, or, is basing like his opinion, is saying like, framing ballot initiatives in a somewhat negative light because of his, history. So, he said in the thing, in the conference, I think that we need to be hard-nosed about this and, look at the historical facts, which he presented his slideshow. And I agree that we need to be hard-nosed about things and look at history and not just dismiss it like we need a substantial amount of money. So the question is, well, then can people help us raise the money? Just like we support grassroots campaigns, because I'll give you this, how many people have donated to a progressive candidate, either Bernie or donating currently to Nina Turner or donated to AOC or Cori Bush or there's just a whole bunch of them and they're great, like or to Paula Jean. I've donated to so many campaigns, and to the people that I know are true fighters and champions, I will continue to donate and support, even though, a lot of people are like, I'm not even going to I'm not going to do that because I just don't support anyone running as a Democrat. I'm very, very careful about who I'm going to support. I do happen to believe very strongly that Nina Turner is a true fighter for justice, and I think that we need to look at where we're at in time exactly right now, and where we will be in the upcoming future. So, but that's for a whole other conversation. The point I was getting to is for people who have donated, as I have, as many of us have, to progressive champions running on Medicare for all. I'm not saying don't continue to do that, but what I'm saying is, like, people would probably like to have the opportunity to donate to an organization that is fighting at the state level and also doing a lot of excellent organizing for educating other people that want to be one-payer states and showing them the template, and also continuing to organize for the national Medicare for All movement through direct action. So, where was I with that? So if Georgia Davenport, if her words are, and they are, she says, a ballot initiative does what it says it's going to do. So again, like, well, I mean, we're all we have is the information that we have to go on. And even our most progressive people who we can love and we can say, I love this person, you know what, though? They're there to do a job. And you can't really, I think in our corrupted system, you can't really be an elected, at least the evidence doesn't point to a very strong likelihood that people can just be wrecking balls. That's what we all want them to be. That's what we need them all to be. But they get worried about their seats, their committee seats, their different things. They're afraid they're either going to lose credibility or they're going to just get attacked on all fronts. Maybe they won't get they'll lose favor with the press. Like, I mean, and the whole argument is, these people, the Pelosi people, the MSNBC people, they can't stand you anyway. They hate your policies. You're not currying any favor. It may feel like it, but you're not. So I guess that's that whole debate. There's other people that are making that point really strongly. I just want to get back to the amazingness of whole Washington being able to be offered the platform of somebody like Brianna Joy Gray on Bad FPod, because it can truly we can share what it is that we are doing. People still don't have to support it as a strategy if they don't want to. But if you are somebody who has donated to progressive campaigns, I would say to you, just like Georgia said, a ballot initiative does what it says it's going to do. And candidates, almost without fail, seem to disappoint us. I feel like we still have to continue to support the best candidates. Otherwise, we're really lost. Like, if we don't gain power, what are we going to do? We have to continue to build third party movements. And if people can stand to run within the Democratic Party, but they better have a really tight knit network of people to help keep them accountable and with the grassroots. That I do believe Nina has that. So, it's where I'm at, but I'm not with the Democrats are just failing. They're failing so massively. I can't personally, I don't choose personally to organize with them anymore. I don't choose to be a PCO with them anymore. People can do whatever it is that they want with their time and their energy. That's not where I want to put my energy. I have paid for childcare. I have attended meetings. I've just seen enough. And I don't want to change. I want to be able to be somebody who puts the absolute pressure from the outside. That's who I am as an organizer. I felt myself, like, my stomach getting all tensed up and just feeling angry and sick. And I should not have to get admonished for speaking out strongly and clearly as a veteran for peace, because my local LD chooses to continue to endorse and protect Democrats at the state and federal level who are taking corporate PAC money, voting for expanded military budgets, and continuing to not endorse Medicare for all, even though the state Washington Democratic platform includes universal health care. So this should, and it goes to show you how, even if the National Democratic Party, they're so brazen they wouldn't even include it or pretend to include it on their national platform. That's how afraid of Medicare for all. They couldn't even let it touch their platform officially. That's how awful and corrupted the National Democratic Party is, as they wouldn't even let the most popular policy, the most popular progressive policy across the board, and even with Republicans, they wouldn't allow that onto their platform because that gives it apparently too much power, right? But on the state level, in Washington state, people like Georgia Davenport and Jason Call and plenty of good progressives have worked as state committee members, and they got that passed. They got universal health care on the Washington State Democratic Party platform. So in theory, if a platform meant anything, that means that the state party chair, our state party chair, is Tina Podlowski. I occasionally check in with her Twitter account, and then I'm like, okay, this is just why I need to be completely not a member of, the executive board in the 27th LD or doing anything like that, because I am just going to speak honestly. I would rather be a group of a bunch of like random people who are fed up and who are willing to go out and get signatures for ballot access for a new party and collect signatures for I-60 for whatever our new initiative is, than I would sit and go to local Dem meetings where the state Democratic Party has universal health care on the platform. If that's the case, the state party chair should be tweeting out, why isn't she retweeting whole Washington? If the state Democratic Party of Washington state has endorsed universal health care, put it on its platform, then she and other Democrats of the Washington State Party should be retweeting and saying, is everybody calling their legislator and asking them to co-sponsor SB 5204? I mean, it's hilarious because, like, actual organizers and people who have just been involved in this political process, who are not organizers, but who are independents and who can just see that this doesn't add up. When I say things like that, it's a hilarious joke. And that's sad, right? It's sad that I can say, hey, universal healthcare is on the Washington State Democratic platform, so we should be seeing from all the different LD Twitter accounts and from the state party chair and from all these different elected representatives, we should be seeing them retweet whole Washington, right? Saying, I endorse this. Yay, we finally have something to make our platform a reality and pass it in Washington State. I can't help but get a little bit sarcastic and fired up. This is the organization that people are saying that I'm supposed to, that we should all enter and that we should all be a part of. And I should be a PCO for that. I went to go and vote as a PCO and watched them vote for Warhawk, anti-Medicare for all Republican lights, like at both the city council level. Of course, they don't have votes on that, but, and on, Derek Kilmer, Representative Kilmer. Hates Medicare for all, won't co-sponsor it. I just, that's not the thing that I want to participate in. So for those people, when I know that they're a super solid progressive and they're fighting and they're working to do things like make the Democrats accountable, at least put that on the platform so that we can turn around and say, hey, this is on your platform and you don't support it. But still, even with that, it doesn't matter. They just ignore it. So this circles back, if you can see where I'm going and where I've gone with this, to the ballot initiative process. If we have worked so hard to get something on the state platform and it's there and we can't get any of the party leadership and any of the leadership in any of the LDs, and literally somebody like me who they can see a mile run coming towards them with a red beret on, and I've got to stand up and speak during good of the order to say and beg them again, beg all these, like, never mind, I'm not going to typify who generally shows up to these meetings. That's rude, and I guess they're always working on diversity or whatever, but to stand up during good of the order and say, whole Washington, here's an update, here's what we're doing, and like to basically beg them to ask Senator Jeannie Darnell and Representative Lori Jenkins, and I forget my other representative's name, to ask them, hey, will you all call up and ask them to co-sponsor this legislation? It's like pulling teeth. It's like you're asking for something. Oh, I don't know if I want to be seen as, I don't know if I want to ask. And I'm not quoting anybody directly, but I'm saying, like, why the hell am I not seeing this? Like, why am I not being tagged by the 27th LD on Twitter saying, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Like, this is on our platform. And this is how come we're the 27th LDs. And let's tag Jeannie Darnell and ask her to co-sponsor. Do you hear the crickets? Yeah, so I got tired of wasting my time going to those meetings and bringing my knitting to every single thing and being the person that shows up in the weird effing beret. And it's disingenuous AF. And I don't choose to participate in it anymore when I know, like, a really solid Democrat. But those words sound like an oxymoron because we're not getting anything. So in my own view, Brianna Joy Gray, Brian Knight, Jimmy Dore, all of these people that are speaking out really clearly that we have to go hard at the establishment and start naming names, kicking ass figuratively, and naming names of people that are just going to go along to get along. That is not why some people sucked it up and voted for Biden. I didn't. I'm proud of that. I did not vote for Joe Biden. I voted for Green Party, who actually has the cause that I fight for, that I have knit over 300 Red Berets for. I voted Green because it is ludicrous to put this many hours into organizing for something and then and vote for a candidate that said they would veto it. So anyway, I'm going to look at the last thing on shout out that I wanted to give. Now that I've kind of gone off again, I am super excited. I am very, very excited that Brianna Joy Gray and Bad FPod is in touch now with Whole Washington. This is a game changer. I hope you all will support us. I hope you will prepare the questions. I hope you prepare any questions, concerns, things that you think would be awesome of Bree Joy to ask whoever is going to go on that panel. Because if you do have concerns about the one-payer states, or anything that you want to know, you have a chance ahead of time, to go on to Brianna Joy Gray's feed and say, this is what I want you to ask at Whole Washington. Just let your voices be heard, because you should do that. Now, I want to find somebody that I have retweeted. Here we go. And I'll probably put this little live feed of me like just ranting and being excited onto right underneath her tweet. Ryan Knight had retweeted me where I said, there's going to be a food fight among the Medicare for All movement. In fact, we're in it. Please don't side with the gatekeepers. Take it from a grassroots AF organizer who has dedicated thousands and thousands of hours. Gatekeepers, whether willfully or not, are harming movement. So Ryan Knight retweeted that. And then I thanked him with thank you at Proud Socialist. Fran, we need to get Ryan a virtual Red Beret too. He has a ton of amazing Medicare for All quotes, but conditionally, it must have an at Whole Washington button, just like at Bree Joyce. And then she probably is like, will you please stop adding me, Ryan Knight too. I do that too much, and I'm sorry, because I know that they both have like a lot of important things to cover, and I do too much, but and I tag people in photos to kind of get their attention. So I can be really annoying on Twitter, but it's not my intention. It's just me trying to connect people up. Yay! Hi, Sarah. Love this. I see you. This is like Laura unhinged. I was playing, like, if you reel it back to the very beginning, I started playing Raspberry Beret, and then I was like dancing, like sit dancing to it, and then I see Georgia like messaging going, I'm playing a game of Scrabble, is it super important? I'm like, no, it's totally not. But I was sitting there trying to respond to her. I was like, don't worry, I'll just go on and act all excited on my own like a dweeb. Okay, so then below that tweet is and I gave you a shout out earlier if you haven't been watching, but maybe you have been watching it the whole time, Sarah. I gave you a shout out for your continued and perpetual effort in tagging all of these amazing media people. Like you and I have been on the tag team of trying to get this attention for Whole Washington. So the Twitter team, the Twitter dream team, and then Don Sanchez these are capital at DMS_Donnie, capital D-A, and then lowercase AWNIE. So DMS_Donnie. She says, just ordered a beret and t-shirt. And I was like, thank you so much. I'm getting ready to be silly AF and ask Georgia Davenport if we can go live on the Whole Washington YouTube account, or I'll go live on Red Berets and call her on the phone to get her reaction. Did that. Looked stupid, but you know what? It doesn't matter. We're if Sarah was on here, and she will be, because I'm I'm going to get Zoom on here so that I can get other crafters. And Sarah is not just a crafter. She has been she was a core organizer of Whole Washington before I knew Whole Washington. So I met Sarah at the very, very first Whole Washington house party that I went to right after Catherine Lewandowski had seen my Red Berets and said, contact Whole Washington. So I did. And then I was in touch with Georgia. And then she said, yeah, we're going to be down in Olympia. So that is where I met Sarah. And I still have the early pictures of all of us together. And then Sarah crocheted berets, and my beret has a beret. And and she has made like all these amazing Bernie hats and just has kind of crocheted her own thing, but has contributed like tons and tons of Red Berets over the time. You do get tired of knitting and crocheting, just simply Red. So Sarah, as I gave the shout out, but now that you're watching, I'm shouting you out again, Sarah, to link up the inspiration of the Bernie's mittens, the mittens that Bernie wore. And I always forget her. Jen somebody. I am following her on Twitter, and and on Twitter I try to give everybody all the credit that is due and never be like, hey, like I thought of this. She's knit the Bernie mittens, and then Sarah tweeted out, hey, Red Berets Medicare for All, we should start knitting these like in Whole Washington red to go with the berets, so. But this is how grassroots organizing works, is like when you're willing to be creative organizers and take, and move everybody's ideas and everybody's energy together, instead of people being like, well, I got to have ownership of this. And I don't, I do this. It's like, Kat, Kentucky Mountain Woman, who makes the Medicare for All masks, like that's her own deal. She came up with those, but we work in tandem together because she also crafted some Red Berets. So it's like it's just trying to like build each other up and give credit where it is due. And I think the left has a lot to learn about like solidarity and solidarity. What I mean personally by that is this idea that by lifting one person or one organization up, you can lift. I gave the example the other day about Scott Desnoyers with who lost his son over $20. We sent him Red Berets, and he took a picture with his Bernie sign, his Red Beret on. It had a Sema Hernandez button that I had handmade some of, and Fran had made the, she had taken the picture and made a neat meme, and I took those and printed them off and put them in my button maker. And so like I sent some of those out to him. So then he put on the Red Beret with Sema's button and wore his Pass New York Health Act red t-shirt. Their symbol is also an apple, just like Whole Washington. And then he also wore a Whole Washington button, and he had his big Bernie sign, his big Bernie campaign sign, and all of his pictures on the wall of Danny Strong, and his other hashtag is No One Fights Alone. So in that picture and in like sharing that, whenever I tweet alongside or with or to boost Scott and his story, I try to use like his hashtags, Danny Strong and No One Fights Alone, Medicare for All. And sometimes he will use Danny Strong, Red Berets. Like, it's like nobody's trying to poach off of each other. We're understanding that, like, look at how many things he included in that photo. And he was able to amplify the Red Berets and Whole Washington and New York Health Act and his own tragic loss and Bernie's campaign. So much solidarity. And he brought Nina with these hands in, and so he just brought so many people into that. And that is why I have followed and elevated and retweeted, not only because his story deserves to be heard and amplified, but because he is somebody who I see as he's a unifier in the way of like the more that we bring everybody together and amplify each other, it actually, like, it doesn't take anything away from me and my little, it doesn't take anything away from me to tweet about uh, Kentucky Mountain Woman's Medicare for All masks. She's sending those to whole Washington. Sometimes she does stuff that's related to Red Berets. Sometimes she's doing the masks that's on her own. And I just try to, um, you know, amplify that. And so that is kind of the layering of grassroots organizing and what we're trying to do. It's not, and just because I had this idea about crafting Red Berets, I got the idea from two places at least. From it, well, it was multiple inspirations, but it was like, definitely, I'm not going to be like, oh, I won't give any credit to the pussy hat movement, because it was the aerial views. That's where where a seed started to be planted of, like, number one, that I could start crafting for healthcare justice, because that was my first thought, was like, oh my gosh, look at all these. What if we started crafting for Medicare for all? And then it was national nurses. But again, it's not like, I can lift up National Nurses United, and I can also have some critiques for what happens when the rank and file doesn't get to have as much of a voice as some of the union, some of the leaders, some of the board. You know, I can just do that, and I'm just a crafter, and people can also come along and find a tweet of mine and say, yeah, Laura Fielding is divisive because, she said pussy hats don't stand for anything. Or, I would like to have seen the Women's March come out strongly in defense of, oh my gosh, what is her name, Sarah? How have my memory is truly, like, a little bit on the poor side. Now I'm going to be trying to look. That is, I'll remember it. But Joe Biden's accuser, who came out in the end, who was interviewed by all of the progressive media, Katie Halper. I can't believe I'm letting go of that in my mind. It's so ridiculous because I have too many things going in my head right now. But anyway, Tara Reid, geez, thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I would have liked to see the Women's March, and I don't know how many times I tweeted at them saying, what about Tara Reid, But this is so this is my thing, is like, it's not that I think no Women's March organizers, or that as a national organization they didn't stand for anything. Sarah and I, to get back to Sarah and I, she and I have spent time at the women's marches in Olympia, and we've brought whole Washington. That's the thing. You learn when you do a ballot initiative, you learn how to bring it to the people. You learn how to enter into every single conversation, every opportunity that you can to have signatures. There was something that was like March for Our Lives locally in Tacoma that I went to gather signatures at, and somebody was like, I'm really uncomfortable that you guys are gathering signature. It's like co-opting the youth's platform and energy. And I said to them, I said, some of the organizers came up and introduced themselves to me a few minutes ago and said, thank you for being here. I thought I was going to have to move to Canada to get universal health care. Thanks for doing that. So see, like, and that was such a kind of liberal thing, such a like, vote blue no matter who thing to say to an actual organizer, because the kids for March for Our Lives had actually said, hell yeah, I'll sign the petition and thank you for being here. And I thanked them for what they were organizing. And the thing is, a ballot initiative just teaches you. And I said to the person who said it, I said, yep, they introduced themselves to me. They didn't feel offended or stepped upon in any way. And I said, and the other thing is, I mean, no disrespect, but we absolutely have to organize and gather signatures at every event. We collect signatures outside of Walmart. We go to farmers markets. We go to pride parades because it's a health equity issue. Absolutely. So when people are like, Pete Buttigieg and this, it's like, well, then why isn't he for Medicare for all? Because we actually need to pass Medicare for all. Yes, thank you. You're like Tara Reid. And it took me like, oh, Tara Reid. It took me like 5 minutes to get there. My brain is not that great. Um, but yeah, we were really fighting to help amplify her, and just like I wanted to believe the best. I wanted to believe that some of these organizations and people were going to stand up for a victim of sexual assault, regardless of who, shouldn't matter. That's just disgusting. I can't even go on that. But I will always still tell the truth, and that is that, the knitted and crocheted pussy hats were still part of the inspiration of the idea of Red Berets, the same as national nurses and hearing Bernie and Jane and Roseanne DeMoro speak to nurses listening on YouTube, the same as me starting to think, okay, so a hat, what a hat, all right, like a red beret, because I'm a veteran, like we need a peace army. So, and that's how the mind works, is it starts putting lots of things like that together. And then I don't think just because I had that idea that it's like my thing. If you ever want to run like another Red Berets account, Sarah, I hope that you have carte blanche. By saying that, I'm not saying I think you should do this. Like, I think it's perfectly cool that you're Sarah Hansen, who crochets for a cause, and sometimes you crochet berets, sometimes you crochet mittens, sometimes you crochet whatever you want. But I do want to let people know that I'm going to have the Zoom. I'm going to get more organizers who have contributed to the Red Berets on here, so that people do start to feel that, like, it's not just me and my thing. I want people to be like, to do just exactly what you did, Sarah, by saying, hey, what if we start doing mittens for whole Washington to go with the Red Berets? And then, Michelle Devilliers, I'm not sure how to say her name. But, she's going to knit or crochet some in red. And I think she got some wool colors that are a little bit, similar to the original mittens. So it's like, really, I've been saying this for a while. The sky is the limit. And I've really been enjoying knitting in purple lately to break the duopoly. You can look at it like either knitting for Hello Somebody, like Nina Turner. I am crafting some specifically to send to Dr. Dooley. Because that is her color, but I also do think it's awesome that it's symbolic of red and blue and breaking the duopoly. So there just aren't really any rules around it. I was a little rigid for a while about berets and about just like continuing to tweet and tweet and tweet, because I wanted to get, number one, I wanted to get the message out there of it being a progressive populist movement, and as inclusive as possible. I hate using the words big tent or big umbrella, because now it's completely associated with the Democrats. But that's why I did a fundraiser in my time organizing within the local Democratic Party and raised like almost $1,000 for them, is because I wanted to give them skin in the game, or think, oh, look, here's the Red Berets helping us, here knitting these berets. We believe in healthcare as a human right and all that stuff, So I didn't want to leave people out, but I definitely wanted to be very clear with the messaging that it certainly does not belong to any one organization. If it does any organization, it is Whole Washington, and that's because Whole Washington is representative of a very diverse coalition of people. They're not Democrats. I mean, it's a mix of a bunch of different people. Some of them might be Democrats. Some of them, many supported Bernie. Some of them are Green Party members. Some of them are just independents. Movement for a People's Party is reaching out to and excited to start working with Whole Washington. So I've tried to do a little bit of kind of Dem Enter Red Beret stuff, tried to support candidates. I've really wanted it to be kind of this thing where people could identify it as being like, I've tried to tweet about my own thing of being a veteran for peace, so that people could get this messaging out that, we need, if we can fund endless wars, we definitely need to be able to fund healthcare for everyone in the United States. So Yeah, I've been kind of particular about the messaging, but anyway, I also want to be very inclusive and very, very much acknowledging of all of the amazing, beautiful, wonderful crafters who were with Whole Washington before I was with Whole Washington, and who have been super supportive, and who are Red Berets as well. Just I came up with the basic idea, and then everybody has helped create this imagery. It certainly has not been me. Somebody on Twitter did this cool thing. That we ended up using for the People's March for Medicare for All. And I think that's a really cool logo. But yeah, it's the point of how people have contributed to this through different memes and graphic art. I just try to be like, if you want to participate in it and you tag me because you made something cool, then I'll retweet you and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You're amazing. So anyway, back to the final thing, and then I got to close this out. Thanks for listening, Sarah, and to people, whoever is listening right now. It was a really long celebration chat. I'm super excited that Whole Washington gets to be on the Bad FPod, and I feel like on the Twitter sphere, several of us have worked really, really hard to help manifest. To help, because Whole Washington deserves to be on the national platform, and I hope and I believe truly that you will understand why when you hopefully tune in and share that out. And you can visit my pinned tweet if you would like to order. I think Sarah Hansen's mittens will be available soon on the Whole Washington merch page. Other crafters, Red Berets and mittens will be and are available on the Whole Washington merch page. You can help Whole Washington and help the Mittens for Medicare and the Red Berets and the Medicare for All mask creative revolution and Whole Washington simultaneously by going to wholewashington.org. Click on the merch. If you're not on Twitter or you don't want to go to my pinned tweet, I have the link on my pinned tweet so that it's always there for people. But you can go directly, please do, to wholewashington.org. And it might not seem like we can fund a revolution with handcrafting, but damn it, Bernie's mittens showed us that it's not any small thing. Look at the money that they raise. So if we can get more people aware that this is what they're doing, I think we'd have a lot of support. And I'm just excited because we have to be at a point where we're willing to just put it all on the line and try everything and not dismiss people's efforts. I really am just very turned off by people that continue to attack Force the Vote. I'm very put off by that because it's just real people. It's just real people who recognize what a real damn disaster that we're in the middle of. We really are in a pickle, and thank goodness for the other creative people and Whole Washington. And leaders like Brianna Joy Gray and Ryan Knight, and there's so many, right? Because if we did not have those positive things to look for and to keep hope alive, but we're not going to let them win. So keep on keeping on. Thank you for joining, and we will see you on Twitter.